welcome to Essential Viewing. It's a weekly film podcast where one of the three of us picks a movie we consider essential viewing, we watch it, and then we discuss it. I'm Bryce Kramer.
I'm Chris Cuevas.
And I'm Cole Beelan. And this week I picked our film, which was No Country for Old Men. This won the Best Picture in 2007. The film was directed by Ethan and Joel Coen, the Coen brothers. It was also written by Ethan and Joel Coen. Essentially, they adapted Cormac McCarthy's novel, the same name, to a screenplay. And it stars Tommy Lee Jones, Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin, and I think that's it for main actors. Yeah. Oh, and Woody Harrelson's in it for like 5 minutes.
And Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. No,
I wish he was in it. That'd be awesome. But anyway, so I think we're going to do what we had for a previous format. We'll start with Bryce and Chris. Kind of give you like your brief synopsis, what you thought of the movie, and then we'll get into discussion from there.
All right. Well, I guess I'll start off this time. I think I always start off.
That's okay.
But I'll start off this time.
For it.
This is it's hard for me not to like this film. It's a sort of a really barren sort of drama. It's kind of cold. It's kind of stripped down to just the core elements of just fear and panic and anger. And I really appreciate a film that sort of takes away all of these sort of unnecessary things and just gives the audience nothing more than those raw sort of core emotions. So I really enjoyed this film.
Bryce?
All right, so I thought it was really good. I'm going to be honest. I fell asleep for like 20 minutes.
Oh, damn. What?
So you have to take what I say with a little less enthusiasm.
We do that anyways.
I thought it was a good movie, but like I thought it was a little boring at points because I fell asleep. I thought I didn't think there was like much going on in terms of the plot. Like it's just like dude finds money, dude tries to kill dude. Like that's the plot, which is fine. And all the acting and like action and dialogue was really well done, especially with Javier Bardem's villain. Like that was incredible. Any scene he was in, I was like, I want to watch this.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
So I didn't know that you fell asleep. That's news to us.
I was kind of saving that as
Bryce,
a
you
surprise.
probably leave, and Chris and I will just talk about this
We'll take it
for the
from
next 30 minutes.
We'll take it from here.
But no, I really enjoyed this film. I watched it a little over a year ago, and that actually led me to read the book afterwards. And I will say that the Coen brothers did an excellent job of adapting not only the dialogue, because the movie is very, very similar to the book. They took a lot of the stuff, they stuck really true to the source material, but they actually adapted how Cormac McCarthy writes to the actual movie. Because I know Chris mentioned at one point when we were watching this Friday night that there's almost no music in the movie. I know there's the one scene, which is probably one of the best scenes in the movie, which is the gas station scene. Where,
that was my favorite scene.
Yeah, Anton Chigurh is like talking to the gas station attendant, and he starts flipping the coin and puts his life on it. Call it friendo. Like it's so good. It's so tense. There's like a very, very slight like sound clip, like music kind of like building up in the background that really builds tension.
And of course, there's the mariachi band. But
oh yeah, that doesn't count though. But there's very little music. They adapt kind of Cormac McCarthy's writing style of being very stripped down, like Chris was saying. Very like raw. Like Cormac McCarthy pretty much just uses periods for punctuation. He did no quotes, no Llewellyn Moss said or Anton Chigurh said. It's just dialogue and no commas, like anything. It's just continuous, very kind of stream of conscious. And I really enjoy that because it's different. And the movie did a good job adapting that, but also kind of making it appealing to other people that may not like that style.
And I agree with what Bryce said. The plot is it's
yeah. I honestly don't know why it like is a Best Picture winner. Like it's obviously it's a well put together movie. Like it's really well done, but like.
And yeah, the plot is
in the terms of like larger themes. Like I don't really see what was happening.
And I agree about the Best Picture thing because there was another movie that came out in the same year, a fantastic little picture by the name of There Will Be Blood,
directed by
Paul Thomas Anderson, who is just a legend in filmmaking, one of the all-time greats. But we're not here to talk about him. We're here to talk about this film.
Chris wishes we could talk about There Will Be Blood.
I have plenty to say about Paul Thomas Anderson, but about this film, the plot is it's kind of barren in a sense, but it's like I consider it to be a sort of I guess I would call it a physical drama. You know, so
I'm waiting to hear how you explain this.
so it's, you know, you think of like an espionage film, for example. You know, a lot of those, the plot is really centered around where the characters are in relation to each other. You know what I mean? And what it's all about their sort of just their actions more than the emotions behind them. And I think that, you know, those can be enjoyable. And what I enjoyed the most about this film is that there is this sort of narrative, you know, of how the world is changing and becoming a more dangerous place. And, you know, you look at that conversation near the end of the movie when the sheriff, I don't remember his name.
Tommy Lee Jones's character.
When Tommy Lee Jones's character goes to talk to, I think it was his uncle.
Yeah, it's his uncle.
You know, and they talk about you know, sort of what's happening in the world and just how, you know,
Kids with green hair.
Yeah, the kids with green hair and stuff. And I think that I like that idea that the world is changing. It's becoming more desperate. It's becoming more dangerous.
I really like that scene, and I feel like they should have had more scenes like that in the movie. Like,
but at the same time, you know, I think it's easy to, when you're trying to incorporate a theme like that, it's easy to sort of ham-fist it, you know. And I appreciate that the writers sort of resisted that temptation and were, you know, a bit more subtle about it.
I think that scene is very good. I agree with you guys, but that was probably the most explicit way to kind of convey the themes of the movie throughout the film, because the film kind of dabbles into certain areas of the themes. And I really enjoy this movie because of the themes that it brings up, and I kind of want to leave that towards the end so we can talk about other things beforehand. But the final scene where Sheriff Tommy Lee Jones is talking to his uncle is very.
I'm sorry, the final scene is where he's talking to his wife.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
But it's towards the end where he's talking to his uncle about things are constantly changing, and the world kind of outgrows the young people that used to live in it, and it takes on and changes with the new young people, and how it's getting progressively worse and worse, and how there truly is no country for old men, because the country they knew when they were younger.
Where was this in the rest of the movie? Old to young. I didn't see that anywhere else.
It incorporates old to young and chance. Chance is a big part of it.
I get chance, but I don't see old to young anywhere else in the movie. Chance, like, he happened upon the drugs.
Exactly.
Just all random happenstance, but I don't see the old to young anywhere else.
Yeah. I don't know, we can bring that up later, but I kind of wanted to shift gears and talk about just kind of, like Bryce, you said the film was put together really well, and I completely agree with that. The performances for acting are great.
Oh,
I think
fantastic.
Javier Bardem got a Best Actor nomination. I don't know if he got their supporting actor. I'm not sure. He's probably one of my favorite
It's a fantastic performance, of course.
Anton Chigurh.
I
I
really loved his character, you know, because his character was kind of like this,
badass.
Yeah, and he was like
The scene where he's walking away and the car just explodes.
And his character was almost satanic, you know?
He was like Satan. It was like Satan crawled out of the pits of hell.
Yeah, exactly.
And put on a mop top and jean jacket. And went to town with a camel gun.
Javier Bardem won Oscar for Best Supporting.
Okay, and that's well deserved, I think.
And you know, one thing is you might say, well, his character had no sort of motivation. You know, why was he so evil? But I think of this film...
It's part of his character.
Right, and I think of this film as something that's sort of taking these sort of grandiose concepts of good and evil and you know, morals, and just really, and greed, yes, and boiling them down into characters.
Reducing them.
You know? So the reason that his character didn't have a set motivation to be so evil is because he was evil. You know? He represented evil. So evil, it doesn't need a motivation. That's what he is. He is evil. You know, so I think that's why there's such sparse backstory for a lot of the characters.
I think you can kind of tie in to Anton Chigurh's character and how the nature of himself is. He was very not indiscriminate about who he killed. There were very few encounters throughout the entire film where he didn't leave killing someone. The one situation would be the gas station scene where he flips the coin, and at that point he's leaving it up to chance. He kills he doesn't kill the gas station attendant because he wins in the coin toss, and he doesn't kill the accountant after he kills, I think, the DA or one of the guy in the office. He just walks in and shoots him immediately. The accountant he leaves there because the guy says that he's a nobody. He says nothing's gonna happen to him. And I was actually reading an article online about this, trying to understand this character more, and how Anton Chigurh only discriminates who he kills against if he sees them to become evil later on. So like he might have seen in the account that like, hey, this is someone that could potentially do terrible things to other people.
What do you see in the gas station guy?
That was a chance encounter. That had nothing to do with it. Just like with Llewellyn's wife, who he did not show him killing it, but it was implied after he left the house she was in. He checked the bottom of his boots and wiped them off to kind of say that he had, making sure he didn't have blood on his boots. But it just kind of showed how death and adversity can become they're non-discriminate. It'll happen to anyone. Just like Llewellyn Moss just happened upon this case of $2 million in the South Texas desert. Then Anton Chigurh was sent after him, and how like just even terrible things will happen to people that you may say not deserve it, but that it just happens. It's part of life.
Yeah, I think that's like in Cormac McCarthy's like writing, I think that's sort of a theme, like this idea of like man being pitted against the wild country with only sort of his wits to kind of protect him and no sort of fortune working in his favor. You know what I mean? Like there aren't greater forces acting to help him. It's just
I feel like this movie seemed it was more like man versus man, though.
But it's like the idea
Anton Chigurh is not considered a man.
He's not. It's about man being pitted against the world in a sense that, like, you know, like you look at Llewellyn's character, he's totally on his own.
Oh yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
Like he's on his own in this film.
Who are you talking about?
The main character. Llewellyn.
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin's character. He's on his own. You know, and he and it's a battle of survival. It's him against the land. It's him against the people who are coming after him. So I think that that sort of really stripped down idea is sort of kind of central to Cormac McCarthy's writing, and you see that in the Counselor, for example, which is a film that he wrote the screenplay for, which was an awful film. Yeah, you see the same sort of idea of like this sort of just pure survival kind of thing.
I do want to watch the movie though, just because Javier Bardem's pretty
badass.
But, what was I going to say? Bryce, do you have any comments?
I want to get back to the plot for a second.
Okay.
I thought it was kind of strange how they like killed Josh Brolin off screen.
Okay, this
just
like keep talking about this
out of nowhere. Like I felt it was extremely anticlimactic. Like in my eyes, he's like the main character of the movie, and then like what was it like two-thirds of the way through or something like that, they kill him off, and then it kind of transitioned into like Tommy Lee Jones is the main character, and like I feel like it should have. Tommy Lee Jones had some like the best conversations in the movie, especially with his uncle, like we were talking about earlier. And I feel like he should have been highlighted more to like bring out the themes that we were just talking about.
Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. In the book, Tommy Lee Jones' character is really the main character, right?
It kind of switches between him and Llewellyn.
I really feel like there should have been more emphasis on Tommy Lee Jones.
But and I can see how you'd say that. I think the book they kind of do pit. It's more both the sheriff and Llewellyn Moss, but the Llewellyn Moss's death is actually very important, and I was in the same boat with you, Bryce. When I first watched the movie, I thought it was really anticlimactic. Like it was like this character you've been following the whole movie, and all of a sudden, like he meets this girl that like they're this woman at a hotel who he may or may not have had sex with after some beers, and then the next scene he's dead. Like he just shot. He was killed by some Mexican gangsters.
The scene where like Josh Brolin and Javier Bardem like fighting like in the streets like at night. I thought that was the ending of the movie.
Oh, wow, damn.
And then it kept going, and I was pretty confused.
Yeah, but like the thing is that after I read the book, I gained a better understanding of that scene, and it shows just how like kind of what I was saying earlier.
Yeah, like chance just die.
It's indiscriminate. Like things just happen to people, good or bad, like moral, immoral, anything like that. Things happen. And you can see, I had this conversation with João earlier when we were discussing this movie, because John hates it. He hates this movie so much. And I was telling him how the philosophy of it and some of the themes that it presents, how, like, there's so many people, like, you'll read the newspaper, this person died. Right. And this, for Llewellyn Moss, that's how his death would have been viewed by a lot of people in El Paso, Texas.
That's what I was going to say.
This guy was shot in a hotel. Like wow.
It's the reason, his death in the movie being so like played down is sort of attributed to the idea that it's insignificant in the grand scheme of things. You know, he's a guy. He died, and no one really cares.
No one knows that he had $2 million of sweet Mexican black tar heroin money. and except his wife, and no one else knows about the other people that were involved with him,
Right.
and no one was able to gain that same experience. But the Coen brothers gave us like a little picture into his life and how he had to deal with all this adversity.
But
he
it's
was
all
facing.
insignificant. You know, the world keeps on turning, and no one really cares about the misfortunes of a lonely man in the country.
I really like
you
that
know?
analysis of that. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
But I wanted to bring up the cinematography of this movie.
I really liked like the wide shots.
Wide
of the desert.
shots
It's
of
just
the
like
desert were
completely
beautiful.
silent. It's just like it brings like a great feeling of emptiness and like
And the
solidarity.
use of darkness and shadow, you know, absolutely amazing. Like the way that, like that scene, the scene when Josh Brolin's character is in that inn, right? And Anton Chigurh is right outside the door,
Yeah.
and you just see the footsteps going past the crack in the door,
Yep.
and then
she shuts the lights off.
yeah, and he shuts the lights off, and then you see that the whole crack in the bottom of the door is completely covered.
Yeah.
And then just like the shotgun blast, and as he blows out the lock, you know, the
Yeah.
cattle gun, and like just it's almost like a silent film, right? Like there's no dialogue here, but there's so much tension.
Mhm.
You know, it's like a really well done horror film almost. You know, the tension in that scene. Like there's that moment there when he's sitting there on the bed with the shotgun was like so tense,
Mhm.
and I think the shadow and the use of darkness really sort of played up the whole scene. So the use of darkness in the cinematography overall was a really, really well used tool in this film.
There's even I wanted to bring up how you have Llewellyn Moss versus Anton Chigurh. Anton Chigurh is essentially like the embodiment of evil in this film, and Llewellyn Moss may not be the embodiment of good. He's just
I'd say more so greed.
greed. I can definitely agree with that, but he's kind of just this guy, and he's there. It's even though he's just this guy, he's a very special guy. He served in Vietnam. He was a welder that can weld TIG, MIG, aluminum, anything. They had a whole conversation about that between him and Woody Harrelson.
I think I missed that part.
But yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's okay.
But he is this. He's so intelligent. They're both very smart with how they deal with things. Like you see Llewellyn Moss is sitting on this bed, and you see like how he's using the light from the hallway to tell where Chigurh is outside. But then Chigurh like plays against that and goes and shuts the lights off, and it's just two very smart people in like a cat and mouse kind of fight.
It's very entertaining to watch.
Extremely entertaining.
Mhm.
And you just see like that's what makes it so tense, because it's two people that are constantly outwitting each other, and it just progressively gets more and more like incredible to watch, and it's so entertaining. And it's just something that like I enjoy this movie. I know during our episode where we talked about a most violent year, I like to see things that are really kind of grandiose, things I can't experience in real life, and like that, two intelligent people like constantly outwitting each other, doing this epic chase between the two. Like I think that's great to watch.
And I think about the idea of Llewellyn, of Josh Brolin's character, representing something. I don't think he represents anything more than just man. You know, and I think that Tommy Lee Jones' character might represent good. You know, Javier Bardem's character definitely represents evil. But I think Josh Brolin's character is just man, and
Kind
the
of
movie is
neutral.
about how man contends in a world where where he's being pushed and pulled by just chance and nature.
I like
You
that.
know.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't ascribe a representation or a symbol to him more than just this is a man just thrown into a box, and and he just has to survive. And it's kind of very neutral. He didn't do anything particularly good or bad in the movie, really.
Mhm.
I mean, his choices were morally blank. They were.
He did kill a dog.
Yeah, that's
I didn't
bad.
like that part.
I think he's one of his most redeemable
I
actions.
didn't like him after that scene.
I think that the two most redeemable actions he has in the film are when he's laying in bed at night after he had gotten the money and he can't sleep, and he talks to himself. He talks to himself of what he's doing. He's kind of assessing himself as like who he is, and he goes back to the desert. He fills up a gallon of water to give to the guy that was in the truck that wanted water, that was still alive when he had first seen him. And so that's kind of redeemable that he does that.
He waited before he did that though. Like he got home, watched some TV with his
Yeah.
wife, went to bed, oh shit, I gotta bring that guy some water.
But it wasn't. I think it was something that he has a conscience. He's just not. He's not Anton Chigurh. I don't think Anton Chigurh has a conscience at
No.
all.
And you know what? That action, that was what killed him, right? Because if he hadn't gone back
He
out
would have
there,
been perfectly
it would have
fine.
been perfectly
Nothing
fine.
would have happened. And that's
so it's this idea that it's not being, the world doesn't care about whether you do the right thing or the wrong thing. It's all just sort of blank. And if to survive in the world that this movie paints, you just have to be sure of your actions. Anton Chigurh survives, right?
Because he's badass.
Because yeah, right.
Ultimate
And
badass.
he's like he's committed to his actions, and when he makes a decision, he doesn't turn around.
Mhm.
Josh Brolin's character, you hesitate, you stumble, you're unsure of yourself, and you die for it.
I think there's something underlying that you brought up with that. How like people that if he would have not had that guilty conscience of not giving his water or agua to the guy in the truck, if he would not have gone back, he would have been totally fine. If he wouldn't have tried to do the right thing, showing that if he would have just had no moral compass at all and just been sitting there like, oh, I have a bunch of money now and like a pretty sweet handgun, like I'm good, I'm set for life, I'm not going to live in this shitty trailer park anymore. Let's go, my 19-year-old daughter and make tons of children, something like that. Like
He's making children with his 19-year-old daughter.
Sorry,
Jesus.
19-year-old wife. Oh God. Sorry. Anyway,
Exactly. I mean, the idea that in a lot of modern films, I won't name any names, but there are a lot of modern films, the characters do the right thing and they're rewarded, and you put forth this idea that the way the world works is that people who do good end up doing all right.
Mhm.
The world is keeping account of all your good and evil actions, and it's going to pay you in kind with what you've done. But what this movie gives us is a picture of the real world, and I appreciate a movie that gives us a picture of the real world. The real world is a place where your actions
People
don't
like Javier
necessarily
Bardem's character
correlate
out
to your
there.
consequences.
yeah.
Lots of
Oh
use
damn,
out.
that's scary. I don't want to think
I don't
about
want to
that.
live in this world.
But your actions don't necessarily correlate with the consequence. Good people have bad endings, and bad people sometimes turn out all right.
Yeah.
Totally fine. With no
however,
consequences.
Javier Bardem did not. And then I actually enjoyed the
He had a
final,
bone
the final
sticking out of his
scene
arm.
where he's driving away after killing Llewellyn's wife, and he's driving just in his car, and all of a sudden, bam, he gets T-boned, and he crawls out of the accident, his bone's sticking out of his hand, and the two little kids are there. And it shows that although even though Javier Bardem's character, Anton Chigurh, is like the embodiment of evil, that he was still a person, he was still a man, and it's kind of it's kind of a weird dichotomy with how he was treated as like this evil being and how he thought of it as that, but then he's just this one guy that has an air tank hooked up to a cattle punching gun, and he's taken out he's almost killed by a car accident. He's damaged by a car accident. That's one of the most severe injuries he sustains in the movie, besides the scene where it's like torture porn
That's
of
a
him,
lovely scene.
of like bathing and and him crawling around with his bath towel, and it's really dank and grimy but
Nasty.
and dark
Dirty.
and gritty. But it's just it's different, and I really enjoy that. This movie it differs from the norm. It's not a Marvel movie.
That's not what I was thinking.
Yeah, of course not, Chris. But it's a different film. I really enjoy it. That's why I picked it for my movie. And I think from the consensus, we all got it, or we all enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you were to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, Chris, how would you rate it?
I mean, on a scale of 1 to There Will Be Blood, I would give this film give it a 9. Because it really manages to be very philosophical in what it says about the world without saying those things verbally. And I can always appreciate that. And of course, beautiful cinematography, fantastic performances. It's a great film. And if it had come along in a different year, besides, was it 2007?
2007, yeah.
Then I would be perfectly fine with it winning Best Picture.
Because it wouldn't have
been at the same time as There Will Be Blood.
I also like There Will Be Blood more.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't. I like this movie more. It's not because it won Best Picture, because I was like 11 years old when it was awarded that, so I don't care. But this is definitely more watchable. After There Will Be Blood, I didn't want to watch it again, like ever in my entire life. Just because not because I didn't like it. It was because it was just so. It was so like long,
Agonizing.
and agonizing.
That
This was
sweet, slow burn.
This was
you
an
know?
agonizing. There was
But
there
I
were
think
these
if
scenes
There
where
Will
it
Be
was
Blood was
slow.
so good and like fulfilling.
I thought this was fulfilling. I thought this was a really
It
good
was.
intellectual
It was.
film to
It
watch.
was.
But I don't want to get hung up on that. Bryce, how would you rate it?
I definitely liked it a lot more after us just talking about it now because like I didn't catch on to all of those themes and stuff. I just kind of like watched it as like a dude versus dude, all out shoots and ladders,
Shoots and ladders,
shoots and ladders cage match.
Oh yeah.
I think after seeing these themes, it's a lot better now. I think they could have been a little clearer in the movie. I don't know. I wasn't paying the best attention.
You didn't fall
I fell
asleep.
asleep for a bit.
We didn't know about
So
it.
I missed a few of it. I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
All right. And like always, I'm gonna do the double scale. So on a scale of 1 to 10 hole punches with a cattle gun, I'd give this an 8. I actually give this a 10 for the amount of like ridiculous,
punches.
not cattle punches, for the amount
Cattle
of
punches.
ridiculous like limb like decapitations and not decapitations, limb like amputation stuff. Because there's so many scenes where
Dismemberment.
If there wasn't
Dismemberment,
what was
there you go.
ham-fisted about this movie, it was the cattle puncher.
the cattle puncher was pretty
Every
great.
time
That
Javier
was-
Bardem was on the screen,
was
it
beautiful.
awesome.
pulled it out.
Yeah,
But, like,
he never tries doors, you know. Those doors could have
it
been
could be
unlocked for
unlocked.
all we know.
Yeah, he just punched it hole in. But every time he had his silent shotgun, he would come in, like when he goes into Llewellyn's room in the hotel and the Mexican like mobsters are there, gangsters, and the guy's sitting on the bed and he shoots the dude's arm and his arm hangs off of his his wrist, like hangs down. It's super gross. And then he gets shot in the chest and he like flips over. It just they show how like damage that weapons actually do to people. It's not just this guy gets shot in the chest and he's dead. He gets shot in the arm, he gets shot in the leg. The guy that like Llewellyn takes a glancing blow from a shotgun and it's like the part of the shrapnel's in his shoulder, but it's not like he just dies. Or when the accountant gets shot in the neck and it's just like really like explicit and like visceral and you see like the blood from his neck is coming out. So I think that is like a 10 out of 10 for realistic gunshot wounds. But as an overall quality of the film, I'd probably say I'd have to give it a 10. I'd say it's very informative. It may not be exciting. It's not a movie you want to just make some popcorn and sit and like watch it with your girlfriend because that'd be really shitty.
Those are the worst kind of movies.
That'd be awful. But like, unless your girlfriend like really likes deep intellectual films, then that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what we thought of the movie. Chris, you have the pick for this
Well,
week.
let's tell them about Essential Viewing Live.
Oh yeah, I don't like this name, but we're gonna go with this.
Well,
I guess.
there's a recent Johnny Depp movie just coming out last Friday called Black Mass. We're gonna go see it at Sundance Cinemas here in Madison, and then we're gonna talk about it.
We'll do a special episode called Essential Viewing Live, and that'll be coming up next week. But we're also doing a regular Essential Viewing episode, and it's my turn to pick.
Oh god.
And so yeah, let's talk about this film. This is a film that I think that
Let's talk about it next time.
No, let's talk about it. Let's talk about. I gotta
You get
pitch
one
the film a
episode
little
for
bit.
your
I gotta
video.
pitch the
You
film a little bit.
announce what the film is.
I gotta pitch. I'm announcing the film. I'm announcing the film right now. Now, this is a film that I think the title of this film could easily be used to describe the filmmaker behind it. Paul Thomas Anderson is without a doubt a master of filmmaking. And he's proven himself to be the best in every discipline, whether it be writing, directing, cinematography. His actors deliver fantastic performances every time. So this film is The Master.
Later.
No, just The Master. So yeah, really excited to watch this. So that's what we've got coming up for next week. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you at Essential Viewing Live and at our next episode.